Ethan Hale, 38, polished, intimidating, and the richest man in the city, had agreed to a blind date only because his sister had begged him. "You need someone who sees you," she had said, "not your money." He didn't believe her, but he still showed up at the quiet rooftop restaurant, more out of politeness than hope. He had survived years of cutthroat business, betrayal from those who pretended to love him, and a loneliness so deep it echoed. Love wasn't something he trusted anymore. But nothing could have prepared him for what walked in through those glass doors. 3 small children. Triplets. A girl in a yellow dress clutching a notebook. A boy with a lopsided backpack. Another boy holding a badly drawn map. They marched straight toward Ethan's table with the seriousness of tiny soldiers on a mission. The girl spoke first. "Are you Mr. Ethan?" "Yes," he replied, confused. "Good," she said, climbing onto the chair across from him. "We're your blind date." Ethan's eyebrows shot up. I'm sorry." The boy with the backpack sighed dramatically. "Dad's sick, so we came instead. He said not to cancel because you seemed like a good man." The smallest boy nodded. "We're here to check if you're good enough for our dad." Ethan froze. He had expected an awkward evening, maybe boring small talk, but definitely not this. And certainly not the sudden warmth spreading through his chest. The girl slapped her notebook open. "First question, do you yell?" Ethan rubbed his forehead. "I try not to." "Good," she said, writing something. "Dad says yelling makes hearts tired." The backpack boy leaned forward. "Next question, do you work too much?" "Dad works a lot but he always comes home for bedtime. That's the rule." Ethan felt a sting of guilt deep in his stomach. Bedtime. He hadn't had one of those since he was 10. He cleared his throat. "I can work less." The kid nodded approvingly. "Okay. We like your answer." The smallest one crawled onto Ethan's lap without warning, looked up with big curious eyes, and asked, "Do you know how to make pancakes?" Ethan swallowed. "No. But I can learn." The triplets exchanged looks. They whispered. They nodded. "We like him," the girl announced. Ethan blinked. "You do?" "Yep," the backpack boy confirmed. "You passed round 1. Ethan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. His first real blind date in years, and he was being interviewed by 3 6-year-olds. But instead of annoyance, he felt something surprising. Relief. Joy. Comfort. Like these children had walked straight into the cracks of his guarded heart, and started fixing things he hadn't even realized were broken. Their father arrived 40 minutes later. Not glamorous. Not dressed for a date. Not even standing fully straight. He looked exhausted, pale, still recovering from a fever. His shirt was rumpled from running. His breath hitched when he saw Ethan. "I'm so sorry," he began. "I told them not to bother you. I didn't want to cancel last minute, but I didn't realize they would actually come." His voice was warm. Gentle. A little shy. And Ethan forgot every word he meant to say. The father wasn't the glamorous corporate type he was used to meeting. He wasn't trying to impress. He wasn't trying to charm. He was simply honest. Ethan liked that. He liked it too much. They sat together. The kids squeezed between them like natural bridges. The father's name was Liam Hart. He was a schoolteacher. A widower. A single dad doing everything he could for his children. And for the first time in years, Ethan found himself talking freely. Not as a CEO. Not as a billionaire. Just a man. Liam listened to him with a genuine softness no one in the business world ever offered him. And Ethan noticed the little things. How Liam asked for nothing. How he smiled shyly when Ethan complimented the triplets. How his eyes softened every time he looked at his kids. How he tried to leave early because he didn't want to take up more of Ethan's expensive time. Except Ethan didn't want him to leave. Not yet. Not ever. But challenges came quickly. Ethan's world wasn't easy. It was ruthless and always watched by the media. People soon noticed the mysterious schoolteacher scene with the billionaire. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some mocked Liam. Some accused him of gold digging. Some questioned Ethan's judgment. Liam was overwhelmed, scared the attention would affect his kids. He tried to pull away, telling Ethan, "You're from a world I don't belong to." But Ethan reached for his hand, trembling for the first time. "I don't want a world you don't belong to." The triplets, overhearing everything, latched onto Liam's legs and shouted, "We like Mr. Ethan. Don't break his heart." Liam broke into tears. Another challenge followed, the harshest one. One afternoon, Liam fainted at work. Overwork. Stress. Physical exhaustion. The doctor warned him to slow down or risk collapsing again. Ethan rushed to the hospital, ignoring calls, ignoring meetings, ignoring everything except the man lying in that hospital bed. Liam whispered weakly, "I'm sorry. I didn't want to be a burden." Ethan sat beside him, held his shaking hand, and said with a voice more tender than he knew he possessed, "You're not a burden. You're the first person who made me feel human again." The triplets cried, hugging their father's arm. Ethan wrapped his arms around all of them, giving them the warmth he never had growing up. In that moment, he made a silent promise. He would protect this family, even if the whole world stood against them. Liam recovered slowly, supported by Ethan every step of the way. Ethan learned to make pancakes. Burned many. Laughed more. The triplets declared him their unofficial backup dad. And Liam started smiling again. Living again. Trusting again. One evening, on the same rooftop where they first met, the triplets pushed Ethan toward Liam. "Ask him," they whispered loudly. Ethan knelt down, voice trembling for the second time in his life. "I don't know what I did to deserve you, or your beautiful family. But if you'll have me, I'd like to be part of it. Officially." Liam covered his mouth, tears spilling across his cheeks. "Yes," he whispered. "It's always been yes." The triplets cheered louder than the city lights below them. In the end, the billionaire didn't rescue the single dad. The single dad and his 3 brave little children rescued the billionaire. They taught him love wasn't a transaction. Family wasn't something you bought. And the richest hearts were often found in the simplest homes. The story ends not with perfection, but with warmth, healing, and a man who finally found where he truly belonged. With them. Always with them. The morning after their rooftop confession, the world felt different for Ethan Hale. For the first time in years, he woke up not to alarms, business emails, or urgent calls, but to a simple message from Liam. "Triplets want to see you today. They said they miss you already." Ethan stared at the message longer than a billionaire CEO should. He smiled like a man who'd been handed a new life. But life, as always, didn't stay peaceful for long. Liam's quiet struggle. Liam Hart was trying to stand on his own feet again, literally and emotionally. His health had improved, but his doctor had warned him to slow down. The triplets followed him everywhere, as if afraid he might disappear the moment they looked away. He tried to reassure them, but secretly, he was terrified too. Teaching, parenting, managing bills, grieving his late wife, and now the sudden attention from being linked to Ethan, it was a lot. He still wondered. Was he good enough for a man like Ethan? Could he truly fit into Ethan's world? Would he end up hurt again? But when the triplets would giggle and talk about Mr. Ethan like he was already family, Liam's heart softened. Maybe this wasn't a mistake. Ethan arrives, with a promise. That afternoon, Ethan showed up at Liam's small apartment with a grocery bag, a confused expression, and a pair of oven mitts sticking out of his coat pocket. The triplets attacked him with hugs before he could even knock. The smallest boy shouted proudly, "We cleaned the house for you." Well, we tried. It didn't look clean at all. In fact, it looked like a tornado made of toys had exploded. But Ethan felt something warm twist in his chest. Home. That's what this chaos felt like. Liam appeared behind the children, leaning on the wall, tired but smiling. "I told them not to make a mess, but they were excited." "I like it," Ethan said honestly. "Feels alive." Liam's cheeks flushed slightly. The unexpected visitor. They had barely sat down for pancakes when someone knocked on the door, hard enough to rattle it. Liam stiffened immediately. The triplets froze. Ethan sensed something was wrong. Liam opened the door only a few inches. A woman in a sharp suit pushed her way inside. "Mr. Hart, we need to talk." Liam swallowed. "I told you last time, this isn't a good time." The woman's eyes landed on Ethan. Recognition flashed instantly. "You're Ethan Hale." Ethan nodded politely, but his jaw tightened. "And you are?" "Social Services," she replied coldly. "Here to discuss the ongoing concerns regarding the children's stability." Ethan felt the ground shift under him. Liam's voice cracked. "The kids are safe. I'm doing everything I can." The woman crossed her arms. "You fainted at work, Mr. Hart. You've been in and out of the hospital. You're overworked, financially unstable, and now the media attention from your relationship," she glanced at Ethan again, "has raised flags." Liam's knees wobbled. The triplets hid behind Ethan. The woman continued sharply, "We may need to evaluate temporary care options." "No," Ethan said, standing. His voice was calm but powerful enough to stop the room. "You don't get to walk in here and threaten a good father who's doing his best." "Sir, this is not your business." "It is my business," Ethan cut in. "Because I'm part of this family." The room fell silent. Liam's breath hitched. The triplets' eyes widened. The social worker blinked. "And who exactly are you to them?" Ethan took a deep breath. "A man who will make sure they never suffer. A man who will protect them. A man who cares for them deeply." He looked at Liam with a steady, gentle certainty. "And a man who's staying. A battle begins." The social worker wasn't satisfied. "You may have resources, Mr. Hale, but emotional stability is more important. And Liam has given these kids more emotional stability than most children ever experience," Ethan said firmly. "If you need proof, talk to them." The triplets stepped forward bravely. The girl said, "Dad reads to us every night." The backpack boy said, "He never yells. Not even when we spill juice." The smallest whispered, "Please don't take us away, we love him." Even the social worker softened a little. But procedures were procedures. "I'll file my updated report. There will be follow-up visits." She left, but the threat lingered like a storm cloud. The moment the door closed, Liam collapsed onto the couch, covering his face. "I'm going to lose them," he whispered. Ethan knelt beside him. "You're not losing anything." Liam's voice shook. "You don't understand. I'm just a schoolteacher. I don't have power. I don't have money. I don't have. You have love," Ethan said softly. "And I'll help you with the rest." Liam looked up, desperate, scared, hopeful. "Why?" he whispered. Ethan hesitated only for a heartbeat. "Because you and the kids, you're the first people who ever made me feel like I have a home." Liam's eyes filled with tears. The triplets climbed onto their dad's lap and wrapped their arms around both men. In that moment, Ethan made another silent promise. Whatever fight lay ahead, legal, emotional, or personal, he would face it. For them. For the family he had chosen. The decision that changes everything. Later that night, after the triplets were asleep, Liam and Ethan sat quietly in the small kitchen. The light was dim, the world was quiet, and the weight of the future hung between them. "What if you're better off without us?" Liam whispered, his voice trembling with fear. Ethan shook his head, overwhelmed by the truth sitting heavily in his chest. "I spent years alone in rooms full of people," he said softly. "And I never felt anything. Not until you." Liam's breath caught. Ethan reached across the table and took Liam's hand, not gently, but firmly, like a vow. "I'm not going anywhere. Not now. Not ever." Liam didn't cry this time. He simply leaned forward and rested his forehead against Ethan's. A quiet promise. A fragile beginning. A bond deeper than they understood. The night ended with a calm silence. But the next chapter of their lives was already waiting. And it would test them in ways neither man was prepared for.